Oh, look at that. Everybody's scared, man. They were mad before. Oh, this guy's a misogynist. He's a sexist. Yeah, people were all pissed before, though. Now everybody's scared. But the reality is sexism is good, actually. It's actually good, yeah. No, it is. Sexism actually benefits women. It doesn't benefit men whatsoever. Because here's the thing with sexism and equality and egalitarianism that we kind of have right now with our progressive society. So the way it benefits women is because it basically evens the playing field, right? So what ends up happening with sexism is women are able to kind of double dip. They're able to enjoy the chivalry, the gentleman type treatment, and be a lady when it suits them, but they're also able to go ahead and enter the workforce and behave like a man and pursue that. So they're basically able to double dip, and a big part of that is from the sexism, right? Because they're able to kind of get the best of both worlds. So sexism in itself inherently benefits women, because if they actually have to compete with men, they lose. I mean, look at the you literally see them like professional athletes that are females losing to high school boys in competition. So if we had to go ahead and just go off of straight meritocracy, we would have one sports league and women would never be able to participate. Like, that's the reality, right? And I remember when I was in college myself, I was a Division I athlete. I rode at Northeastern, and the women's team got a significant amount of money. Oh, we have a. What's up, man? How are you? I guess I could come into that after.
It's my work.
What's up, bro?
Work. I seen some of your podcasts and stuff like that. I haven't watched the full thing, but I really just want to know, like, why do you think women deserve less? Because it's like a controversial. Obviously, it's gonna catch people's attention.
Sure.
They see it. And
Sure. When I say women deserve less, it's for a multitude of different reasons, but I'll just focus on, like, let's say dating for now, right? So guys have this, warped ideology that being a gentleman and being super nice and, being caring makes you more attractive to women. But the reality is, attraction and arousal are two different things. And by being a nice guy, what ends up happening a lot of times is you get stuck in the friend zone. And what I tell guys, and I talk about this in my book, guys got to give women less. If you look at the cover, I have money there, relationships, social media, and time. And the reason for that is because we live in a deregulated sexual marketplace. And what that basically means is, assuming two parties have the age of consent, anyone could hook up. Now, we thought this would be a good idea in the 60s with the explosion of feminism and birth control, et cetera. But what ended up happening was, when you leave women to their own devices, they date the best guys that they can get. And that problem's been exacerbated as they become more educated and made more money. So it's left a lot of normal guys out of the realm. So what I tell guys is, you need a woman that's going to reciprocate that attention, because we're in a position now where they have all the leverage, and a lot of guys are over here courting and dealing with women that, quite frankly, don't deserve it. So when I say women deserve less, there's other aspects too, but that's what I mean, as in, like, dating. Don't simp on women that already get everything given to them. Is your question?
yeah, isn't that just like a generalization though? Because I feel like it's case specific with every person. Like, when you say that, it's like you matching one archetype of men with another archetype of women, and then you making that the case for everybody.
Well, I think the world operates on generalities, right? There's a reason why Braille isn't everywhere, because there's not that many blind people, right? So, in general, being a nice guy is going to set you back. Now, are there some girls out there that are, will reward you and give you sex and a blowjob for being a nice guy? Sure. But the reality is, being a nice guy typically always puts you on your back foot. And I think in today's day and age, where women have an enormous amount of leverage in the dating marketplace, guys need to kind of go in there with their eyes wide open so they don't put themselves in a bad situation. So generalizations are typically how the world works. Of course, there's always going to be anomalies. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. But I think in general, men need to operate from a position where they're mitigating risk and not investing too much up front. Because we have way more on the line than women do when we get in relationships.
So you say, like, sex. Do you think that's the end goal of a relationship? Like, where do you view that?
Well, it's the main agency that women have.
What if you don't give them that agency though? If you have, like, different priorities generally, like
The man or
yeah,
the woman?
the man.
Okay, what do you mean by that? If you can kind of...
Like, if you don't go into a relationship just expecting to get that out of it, then there's really no leverage there if that's not something you really want out of that person.
Well, a lot of the time that's cope, right? So like guys will sit there and they'll be taking a girl on her seventh date. They've been talking for like 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, and they'll sit there and cope, be like, oh no, like I'm just building something up. But the reality is she's fucking some other guy, right? And the reality is that men need to understand that women, right? They sell purity, they sell sugar and spice and everything nice. But what will happen is they'll open themselves up sexually to the men that they respect and are aroused by, and then make the nice guy wait, right? And they're able to kind of double dip doing that. So I think with guys, they got to basically push for sex fairly quickly in a relationship to ensure that they're not getting used.
I think
because that is their main. I mean, just let's be honest here. Like that is their main commodity, their main agency. Like if women didn't have vaginas, we wouldn't care. No one would talk to them.
I wouldn't say that because that's like half the population. You just like dehumanizing half the population with that statement.
I mean, well, it's the reality. We're put on Earth to procreate, correct? So men, our job is to provide resources. Their job is to extract resources, and it's been this way since the beginning of time. The only reason we're able to have this whole, moral situation is because of modernity and the access to technology and how we progressed. But the reality is, in times of when times are not peaceful, we get closer and closer to our traditional gender roles, right? There is no feminism when the lights are off. There is no feminism with war. There is no feminism when it comes to preserving society and moving on forward. So, the reality is that that's why the genders deal with each other. Men provide resources, women provide access to sex.
I'm gonna come back.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, thank you for coming up, though, man. It's brave to do that. So, shout out to you. And you when you come back up, say your name. Hi.
Hey, so I really think your ideology is interesting. How do I apply it to my lesbian relationships?
Okay. What is the goal? Is the goal to get married? Is the goal to have a serious long-term boyfriend that will, what's the goal?
It's to have a lesbian relationship.
Oh, well, you guys are useless to society, so.
So should I value her less or more?
Well, I mean, you guys can scissor and talk and have a good time, but you guys don't really provide for society.
Okay, so thank you.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, if you're not contributing to a nuclear family, you're effectively useless to society, being honest. Also, I don't think lesbianism is real. I think it's just confusion a lot of the times. Because the reality is, because I've interviewed maybe almost 4,000 girls on my show, and girls that say that they're lesbian or bisexual, I always like to ask them, well, if you had to pick one gender for the rest of your life, who are you going to pick? And 9 out of 10 times it's the men, and the reason why is because men have to provide value in a relationship. Women don't, a lot of the times. Like with us, we have a multifaceted list of things that we have to bring to the table, whether it's being tall, strong, competent, financial resources. Men have to rise to the occasion to be able to get attention from the opposite gender. Women don't. So what ends up happening a lot of the times when there's lesbian or bisexual couples and are dating with women, the bar is low, and they don't really provide value to each other. And then when the check comes, they're both looking at each other confused. So, there's a reason why lesbians have some of the highest rates of domestic violence. It just doesn't work.
Hey, I'm back. I got another question.
Sure.
So,
You want to introduce yourself to the people or not?
oh, my name is Caleb. I'm a civil engineer major.
What's up,
freshman.
Caleb? Welcome.
Yeah.
Where are you from, bro? How old are you?
I'm from Fort Mill, South Carolina. I'm 19.
Okay.
Yeah. So you said going into a relationship or dating with a woman, not expecting sex is like cope. What is?
Yeah,
what
a
is that?
lot of guys tell themselves that when they're in the friend zone. Like a guy will sit there for 3 or 4 years, talking to this girl, wanting more. He knows he's stuck in the friend zone, but he just kind of sits there and be like, "No, I'm just gonna be a good friend. I'm gonna sit around. I'm just gonna be here."
At that point, it's a matter of self-respect, though. Like if you know you're not getting what you want out of a relationship, why not walk away? But if you do want a friendship for that person,
I agree.
Because women do have value outside of just sex.
No,
then,
I agree with you on that. But the problem is that most guys can't identify when they're being friend zoned. Is my point.
It's easy to identify though. If the relationship not going where you want it to go, then you can walk away.
You got to understand that a lot of guys are socially retarded. and not able to understand when a woman isn't that into them. I'm sure every woman in here has been hit on by a guy that made her feel uncomfortable, and he just simply didn't get it. And there's a reason for that. Women, the one compliment I will give women is they're socially superior to men. They're able to pick up on things quicker. They're able to read the room better. They're able to assess danger. And the reason for that is because they're the weaker gender physically, right? So since they can't make up for it with strength and brutality, if a dude's a little off, he's like ticking like this, or he's a weirdo, women pick up on that immediately and like, okay, danger zone, let me get out of here. So that's why a lot of guys are kind of idiotic when it comes to this stuff, and they can't take the signs.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
But is it that women deserve less or men need to know more?
Combination of the two. Men need to understand their value, because that is actually, that's the biggest weapon when it comes to dating and intersexual dynamics, is a lot of guys don't understand how much value they're bringing to the table versus the woman. A lot of the times, men chronically undervalue themselves while women simultaneously overvalue themselves. If you ask an average girl, hey, what kind of guy do you want? They're going to tell you 6 figures, 6 feet, 6-pack, good looking, good with dogs, asshole that could put me in my place, but at the same time is a nice guy. Like, they're looking for the top 1% guy, but the reality is they're very average. So I think men need to understand that not only do you have to, the burden of performance is on you and you have to be attractive, but you also need to understand that you need to be superior to your girl in every way. Because women don't look for equals despite the fact that they say they do. That's a lie.
You got anything to say?
They look for a superior. They don't look for an equal, ever. So by me giving her less, I'm actually giving her what she wants. Surprisingly.
I wouldn't say that's like giving less, though. And when you say women deserve less, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, they do. And the thing is that you have to make them earn everything. Because when guys come in, they start simping immediately. They start giving her money, time, attention, all this stuff. She takes that for granted. She doesn't respect it. And if she doesn't respect it, she's not going to respect you.
Okay, let's
and here's the other thing, too. Since women have so many options, and this has been exacerbated by social media, by the way. Like, this has always been a problem, but in 2025, with the explosion of social media, it's gotten even worse.
I think social media just made it more toxic, but I'll put that off to the side for a second.
Sure.
Let's do a hypothetical. So let's say a guy, he goes into a date, he already knows what he wants, and so in the scenario that you create, this guy he courts her or whatever, they're dating, he's giving her everything that she wants, and she's giving it up to some other guy on the side or whatever.
Yep.
And so
Happens all the time.
the problem is that she values herself more than this guy.
Well, I mean, not really. She's basically using him, right? So another dark secret when it comes to modern dating and women in general, how modern women date, is what they'll do is they'll have men in certain categories. They'll compartmentalize men. So one guy will be saved in her phone as Uber. Another guy will be saved as pizza. Another guy will be saved as sex. Another guy will be saved as simp. Another guy will be saved as sugar daddy. And, this is a very dark reality that a lot of guys don't understand. But we've gotten to a point now, thanks to social media and dating apps, et cetera, where women are able to basically have men in these certain roles where they can benefit them. And what I'm saying is I don't want you being saved as Uber. That's my thing when I talk to guys. And
so at that point, why is the lesson not how to have self-respect as a man instead of, like, attacking women?
Well, here's the thing. In order for you to have self-respect, you must give them less.
That's not how self-respect works, though.
No.
You can value yourself, but without tearing someone else down.
Well, you're not tearing her down. You're just mitigating risk and not giving her everything up front. You're making her earn it. See, I find it interesting that women will sit there and have these super high standards, right? And when you make them work for your validation and your attention, that's looked at as misogynistic. But when women do it, it's looked at as having high standards. Do you notice that? Double standard? So in other words,
I've never experienced that personally.
Well, that's you, man. I mean, you might be better with the girls than other guys, but most men struggle in this situation. Yeah. See? Yeah, you got to remember, man, the average guy is struggling. Like, you might be a smooth talker or whatever. I can see that you're an eloquent young man.
Thank you.
But a lot of guys don't have that skill set, So.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of this, like, the dating philosophy in this time is really like spitting game, and it's really technical, but I think a lot of it is just connection. So when you actually look for that in somebody, then you can get rid of everything else.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't become a competition or a
well,
thing of leverage or anything.
Here's the thing you got to remember. Like, when it comes to, like, connection, remember that, like, 90% of guys can't even get the connection in the first place.
It's just a conversation, though.
but you're not going to have the conversation if she doesn't find you attractive up front. So like whenever women talk about like men that they like or whatever, or like what they're looking for, or the personality traits he's supposed to have, they're talking from the frame of they assume attraction. They assume he's already 6 feet tall and he's good looking or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I don't care. I just want a guy that communicates well. But she's not telling you that he's 6'3" and makes, $50K a month.
Yeah.
She's not telling you that part, right? She's saying she wants a good communicator, but the reality is it's with certain types of men.
I think with those women, with that like archetype of women in particular, they're like really shallow. Like me personally, if I see a woman like that,
that's a lot of women.
it's not though, because I know a lot of women who go off of the way a man carries himself or the way he speaks or the things he believes. It's not just how he looks. And part of it is how he looks.
I'm not saying it's just how he looks. It's a complete package. But what I'm saying is that they want them well-rounded in multiple different things. Typically, the more money and status a woman has, or the hotter she is, the pickier she's going to be. And this is even for average women. Average women are looking for an above-average guy 9 out of 10 times. We got 5s looking for 9s. But then if you ask her, what do you rate yourself 1 to 10, she'll say an 11. 11? Like, what the hell? So that's the problem.
So have you like met real life examples of these guys who are trying to talk to women and they're not having any success?
A lot. Coached a lot. Literally thousands of them.
So, and what are they doing wrong?
Well, there's a multitude of reasons, right? It could be that they're socially awkward, they don't have their money on point, they're fat, they don't speak well, they stink. Like, there's many failure points for men to take an L with women. And the thing also that I think that's important is women are pickier now than ever before. So, like, you might have everything in place, but she won't like the color of your socks. Oh, I'm good, So girls get turned off very easily now because they have the paradox of choice.
Dang. See, I personally can't speak from these generalizations because I'm speaking from my personal experience.
Of course. And it's anecdotal, so you're going to be limited in what you can, understand or know because you're only 19 years old. And trust me, I had that same mindset when I was 19 too. I had this whole, idealism and women are equal to us and everything else like that. But the reality is they're not. If I'm going to be honest, they suck at most things. Men are better than women in almost every regard.
Crazy. I've heard you say that before.
Yeah.
But I don't really think that's true. And personally, I don't think my viewpoint is idealistic.
We're literally better than them in everything where we compete. That's why they have to have their own separate leagues.
I think.
Yeah, but nobody shows up at WNBA games. The WNBA is literally subsidized by the NBA, right? It's like we like champion mediocrity from females just because we want to be equal, right?
I think we got double standards in gender roles because men and women are good at different things. Not that men are better than this or women suck at this. Like, we have different things that we're inclined to.
I mean, yeah, she'll teach you guys how to get cats. That's what she'll teach you guys, how to get cats and get triggered. But the biological reality is men are better than women at most things. Yeah, I mean, hey, you can get on the mic. You get on the mic. She wants to tell you guys about her Siamese cats. We got a Karen in the house. Fantastic. But yeah, anyway, like I was saying, yeah, men are better than women in almost every realm of competitive endeavor. It's just the reality, right? And this shows that what they're attracted to as well. Does a woman want a guy that's shorter than her, dumber than her, makes less money than her? No, she's looking for a superior. That's just how it is. It's biology. Now, I know this is like offensive, right, to the left to point out these biological realities, but women are not attracted to men that they're equal to. They'll sit there and say that, but how they behave is two different things. So, what's up, man? How are you? What's your name?
Hi, how are you? My name is Trey. It's nice to meet you.
How are you, Trey?
So I heard your views on lesbians a moment ago, and I'm just curious how those views transfer to gay men. Do you believe they don't exist as well? Because you did say that lesbian relationships cannot exist because men are more multifaceted than women. That was your main argument point on lesbianism prior, and I'm just curious how that carries to.
So, what are my thoughts on gay men?
Yeah.
Well, you guys are kind of useless to society too.
Fair, yeah. I am pretty damn useless.
but
not because I'm not having kids, just because I'm crazy.
Yeah, from the nuclear family perspective, right? I say that kind of as a joke, but yeah, I mean, I think the backbone of any thriving society is the nuclear family. don't contribute to that, unfortunately. And I don't think gay men should be able to adopt children either. I think that's crazy. I don't think lesbian women should be able to adopt children either. I think kids need to be protected at all costs, and exposing them to sexual degeneracy is a problem, because that's what homosexuality and lesbianism is. I'm a firm believer that, you know, gays and lesbians need to go back in the closet. We don't need that stuff outwardly.
That is a point of view that you are entitled to. Have a nice day.
Fair enough. Thank you for coming up. Thank you for coming up. Yeah, guys, I know it's scary, but like I said, I'll chat with you guys. You got questions on my worldviews or disagree, I'd be happy to have a conversation with anyone.